I'm Sarah, 29, female, and he proposed to her while still with me, so I showed up to the wedding. It's a sentence I still sometimes whisper to myself, a stark reminder of the surreal nightmare my life became and the dramatic, almost unbelievable way I chose to confront it. Michael and I had built what I thought was a strong and enduring love over 5 years. We'd navigated career changes, family dramas, and the everyday ups and downs of life with a comfortable familiarity. We talked about our future, constantly buying a house, maybe starting a family. Those conversations, I now realize, were a cruel performance on his part. Our story began like any other, a chance meeting at a friend's party. I was drawn to his easy smile and quick wit. He was ambitious, a rising star in the marketing world, and he seemed genuinely interested in my life as a high school English teacher. We bonded over our shared love of books and old movies, and soon we were inseparable. Our relationship progressed steadily. We moved in together after 2 years, creating a cozy home filled with laughter and what I believed was mutual affection. Looking back, there were subtle signs, whispers of doubt that I chose to ignore. Michael's work trips became more frequent, his phone calls more secretive. He'd often come home late, claiming demanding deadlines, but his explanations felt vague, almost rehearsed. There was a growing emotional distance, a subtle shift in his demeanor. He was still physically present, but his mind seemed to be elsewhere. When I tried to talk about it, he'd reassure me, tell me I was imagining things, that work was just stressful, wanting to believe him, always did. Then came the little things that chipped away at my trust. A text message that flashed across his phone screen, a name I didn't recognize paired with a heart emoji, a hastily deleted email on his laptop. Each incident was followed by a plausible explanation, a believable lie that I readily accepted. I loved him and I trusted him, or so I thought. The final, devastating truth began to unravel with a misplaced jacket. I was doing laundry one Saturday morning when I found a small, elegant receipt in the pocket of Michael's rarely worn blazer. It was from a high-end jewelry store dated just a few weeks prior. The item listed was engagement ring. The world tilted on its axis. My breath caught in my throat. Disbelief warred with a sickening certainty. An engagement ring, but he hadn't proposed to me. The chilling realization washed over me. He had proposed to someone else, all while still with me in our home, sharing our life. The weight of his betrayal was crushing, but beneath the initial shock, a cold, hard seed of resolve began to grow. He was planning a wedding behind my back, a wedding I now intended to attend. The discovery of the engagement ring receipt was like a physical blow, knocking the wind out of me and shattering the carefully constructed reality of my relationship with Michael. The days that followed were a torturous blend of disbelief and a burning, white-hot rage. How could he look me in the eyes, share our bed, talk about our future, all while secretly planning a life with someone else? The audacity of his deception was staggering. I replayed our last few months together in my mind, searching for clues I had missed, for any indication of his double life. His increased work trips now made a sickening kind of sense. The secretive phone calls, the guarded laptop, they all pointed to a clandestine relationship I had been completely blind to. The thought of him buying an engagement ring for another woman, perhaps even proposing in a romantic setting I had always dreamed of sharing with him, sent waves of nausea through me. I knew I couldn't confront him immediately. I needed proof, undeniable evidence of his betrayal. I started subtly, paying closer attention to his phone, his emails, his schedule. It wasn't long before I found more pieces of the puzzle. A saved contact in his phone under a generic name, but with a picture of a woman I didn't recognize, a beautiful blonde woman with a radiant smile. Late night texts filled with hearts and affectionate messages. Calendar appointments labeled client dinner that always coincided with his supposed out-of-town trips. The final, irrefutable piece of evidence came through a carelessly left open email on his laptop. It was an email exchange with a wedding venue, detailing dates, guest lists, and payment schedules. The bride's name, Olivia, the date of the wedding, just 3 weeks away. The location, a beautiful vineyard just outside the city, a place we had once talked about visiting together. The sheer volume of his betrayal was overwhelming. He wasn't just cheating, he was building an entire future with someone else, a future that was about to begin in a matter of weeks. The initial shock and heartbreak began to morph into a cold, steely resolve. I wouldn't let him get away with this. I wouldn't let him erase 5 years of my life as if they meant nothing. The thought of him standing at the altar, promising forever to another woman while still technically with me, filled me with a righteous fury. I decided then and there that I wouldn't just disappear quietly. I wouldn't give him the easy way out. I would make sure that his carefully constructed facade crumbled, and that Olivia, his family, and all their wedding guests knew the truth about the man he really was. The wedding was in 3 weeks. I had 3 weeks to plan my own unforgettable appearance. The weight of Michael's elaborate deception pressed down on me, a suffocating burden of anger and betrayal. The 3 weeks leading up to his wedding felt like a distorted reality, a cruel countdown to a day that was meant to be a celebration of love, but for me represented the ultimate act of betrayal. I moved through my days in a haze of feigned normalcy, teaching my classes, interacting with friends, all while secretly plotting the unraveling of his carefully constructed lies. I knew I couldn't go to the wedding unprepared. I needed undeniable proof of our 5-year relationship, evidence that would shatter any attempt he might make to paint me as a disgruntled ex-girlfriend. I meticulously gathered photos of us together, spanning our entire relationship, holidays, birthdays, quiet nights in, moments of shared joy and intimacy. I printed out heartfelt cards he had written me over the years, saved text messages filled with affection and future promises. I even found an old video of us talking about our dreams for our wedding, a poignant reminder of the future he had so casually discarded. The wedding venue was a beautiful vineyard, a picturesque setting that now filled me with a cold fury. I found the date and time of the ceremony on the wedding website, a public declaration of a union built on a foundation of lies. I knew I had to be strategic about my arrival, choosing the moment that would have the maximum impact. I confided in my closest friend, Emily, telling her the entire story and my plan. She was initially worried, urging me to consider the emotional toll it might take, but when she saw the unwavering determination in my eyes, she offered her full support, agreeing to be there with me. Her presence would be a source of strength, a grounding force in what I knew would be a chaotic and emotionally charged situation. As the wedding day drew closer, my anxiety grew, but so did my resolve. I envisioned the scene, the happy couple at the altar, surrounded by their loved ones, about to exchange vows based on a foundation of deceit, and then my arrival, the unexpected guest with the truth that would shatter their perfect illusion. On the morning of the wedding, I felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. I dressed carefully, choosing an outfit that was elegant but understated, not intended to steal attention, but to convey a sense of quiet dignity. Emily arrived, her presence a calming force. As we drove to the vineyard, a sense of grim determination settled over me. This wasn't about revenge, not entirely. It was about exposing the truth, about reclaiming my own narrative, and about preventing Olivia from unknowingly stepping into a life built on a lie. Michael had made his choice, now it was time for me to make mine. The drive to the vineyard felt both incredibly long and agonizingly short. Emily's presence in the passenger seat was a silent reassurance, her hand occasionally squeezing mine. As we pulled into the parking lot, the air was filled with a sense of celebratory anticipation, guests in their finest attire, the soft strains of classical music drifting from the distance. It was a scene of idyllic romance, a stark contrast to the turmoil churning within me. We made our way towards the ceremony area, a beautiful outdoor setting with rows of white chairs facing a flower-adorned altar overlooking the rolling vineyards. Guests were still arriving, chatting excitedly, completely unaware of the drama about to unfold. I spotted some familiar faces, mutual friends who had no idea about Michael's double life. The realization of their impending shock fueled my determination. We found seats near the back, our presence relatively inconspicuous amidst the arriving guests. I scanned the crowd, my heart pounding in my chest, searching for Michael and the woman he was about to marry. Then I saw them, standing at the front near the altar, Olivia, radiant in a white wedding gown, her blonde hair styled in an elegant updo, and Michael, looking handsome and seemingly happy in his dark suit, a picture of a groom eagerly awaiting his bride. The sight sent a fresh wave of pain through me, but it also solidified my resolve. The ceremony began. The officiant spoke of love and commitment, words that felt like a cruel mockery given the circumstances. As Olivia and Michael exchanged their vows, a knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach. I knew I had to act soon, before they were legally bound, before this charade went any further. Just as the officiant was about to pronounce them husband and wife, I stood up. The sudden movement drew the attention of a few nearby guests. I took a deep breath and spoke, my voice clear and steady despite the tremor in my hands. "Michael, My voice carried across the quiet ceremony, instantly silencing the officiant and drawing all eyes towards me. Michael's head snapped up, his face paling visibly. Olivia turned, her expression a mixture of confusion and surprise. A stunned silence fell over the entire wedding party and the assembled guests. "Sarah," Michael stammered, his eyes wide with disbelief and a dawning horror. "Yes, Michael," I replied, my voice gaining strength. "It's Sarah, your Sarah, or should I say one of your Sarahs." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Confusion morphed into a stunned understanding on the faces of the mutual friends who recognized me. Olivia looked at Michael, her eyes questioning, her perfect wedding day beginning to unravel before her very eyes. The moment of truth had arrived. The stunned silence that followed my announcement hung heavy in the vineyard air. All eyes were fixed on Michael, Olivia, and me, the unexpected guest who had just shattered the idyllic wedding scene. Michael's face was a mask of panic, his carefully constructed composure completely gone. Olivia's initial surprise had quickly turned to confusion and a growing alarm as she looked from Michael's horrified expression to me. I took a few steps forward, my gaze never leaving Michael's. "Perhaps Olivia and your families should know," I began, my voice clear and carrying, "that Michael and I have been together for the past 5 years. We lived together. We made plans for our future together." A wave of murmurs rippled through the guests. Olivia's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with disbelief. Michael tried to interject to deny, but I held up my hand, silencing him. "In fact, Michael," I continued, my voice laced with a bitter irony, "just a few weeks ago I found this." I held up the receipt from the jewelry store, the one that had started it all, an engagement ring, a beautiful ring, just not for me, apparently. A collective gasp echoed through the crowd. Several guests gasped audibly. Olivia's face, which had been flushed with wedding day excitement, now drained of all color. She turned to Michael, her eyes pleading for an explanation. "Sarah is. She's a crazy ex," Michael stammered, his voice shaking. "Don't listen to her, Olivia. This isn't true. Crazy," I retorted, my voice rising slightly. "Is that what you told her, Michael? Did you also tell her about our anniversary trip last month? Or the plans we made to look at houses in the fall?" I pulled out a handful of printed photos from my bag, images of Michael and me throughout our 5-year relationship, laughing on vacation, celebrating birthdays, cuddling on our couch. I held them up for everyone to see. "Does this look like a crazy ex, Michael?" The evidence was undeniable. The photos, spanning years, painted a clear picture of a long-term, committed relationship. The whispers among the guests intensified. Olivia stood frozen, her dream wedding turning into a public nightmare. Her parents, who had been beaming with pride just moments before, now looked bewildered and concerned. I turned to Olivia, my voice softening slightly. "Olivia, I don't know you, and I have no desire to cause you pain, but you deserve to know the truth about the man you were about to marry. He has been living a double life. He proposed to you while he was still with me, planning this wedding while sharing a home and a life with someone else." Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes. She looked at Michael, her expression a heartbreaking mix of devastation and betrayal. The silence was broken only by the quiet sobs of the bride and the hushed, shocked whispers of the wedding guests. Michael's carefully constructed world had just come crashing down, all thanks to an unexpected guest who had come bearing the undeniable truth. The vineyard air crackled with the raw emotion of the exposed deception. Olivia stood ashen, faced, tears streaming down her cheeks, her gaze fixed on Michael with a mixture of disbelief and profound hurt. Her parents rushed to her side, their expressions a blend of concern and anger directed at Michael. The wedding guests, a sea of shocked faces, buzzed with hushed whispers, their celebratory mood completely shattered. Michael, cornered and exposed, tried desperately to salvage the situation. He turned to Olivia, his voice pleading. "Olivia, please believe me. Sarah is trying to ruin this. She's obsessed. What she's saying isn't the full story." But his words rang hollow in the face of the years of photographic evidence I had presented. Olivia's parents stepped forward, their anger palpable. "Michael," Olivia's father said sternly, his voice trembling, "is what this young woman is saying true?" Michael's gaze flickered between Olivia and her parents, his attempts at denial faltering. He knew the game was up. He finally nodded, a barely perceptible movement, his shoulders slumping in defeat. A collective gasp went through the remaining guests who hadn't already heard snippets of the unfolding drama. Olivia's mother let out a choked sob, pulling her daughter into a tight embrace. The beautiful white wedding dress suddenly seemed like a symbol of a future that would never be. I turned to leave, my purpose fulfilled. Emily placed a comforting hand on my arm, her eyes filled with a mixture of sympathy and pride. As we walked away, I could hear the rising tide of anger and recrimination directed at Michael. Olivia's family and friends surrounded her, offering comfort and support. The wedding, the symbol of a new beginning Michael had so deceitfully planned, was irrevocably over. The aftermath was swift and widespread. News of the dramatic wedding disruption spread like wildfire through our mutual acquaintances and beyond. Michael's reputation, both personally and professionally, took a significant hit. Friends who had attended the wedding shared the story, their shock and disapproval evident. Olivia, heartbroken but now aware of the truth, publicly called off the engagement. Michael's attempts to contact me were met with silence. He tried to explain, to apologize, but the chasm of his betrayal was too wide to bridge. He had made his choices, and now he had to face the consequences. For me, leaving that vineyard felt like shedding a heavy burden. The pain of Michael's betrayal was still there, but it was now accompanied by a sense of empowerment and a quiet satisfaction that the truth had been revealed. I had stood up for myself, exposed his lies, and prevented Olivia from entering into a marriage built on deceit. The wedding he had planned in secret had become his own public unraveling. The immediate chaos of the wedding day eventually subsided, leaving behind a wreckage of broken promises and shattered illusions. Michael faced the stark reality of his actions. Olivia, though deeply hurt, found strength in the outpouring of support from her family and friends. She took time to heal, her future now free from the deceit she had unknowingly walked into. Michael's social and professional life suffered significant damage. His reputation as a trustworthy and reliable individual was tarnished, impacting his career prospects. The story of the disrupted wedding became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of dishonesty and betrayal. For me, the act of confronting Michael at his wedding, while emotionally draining, proved to be a pivotal moment. It was a declaration of my own self-worth, a refusal to be a silent victim. The immediate aftermath was filled with a mix of exhaustion and a surprising sense of liberation. I leaned on my friends and family, allowing myself time to process the pain and anger. The outpouring of support I received was overwhelming, a comforting reminder that I was surrounded by people who truly cared about me. Life after Michael was a journey of healing and rediscovery. I focused on my teaching, finding solace in the connection with my students and the power of literature to explore the complexities of human relationships. I reconnected with old hobbies and nurtured new friendships, gradually filling the void Michael had left with genuine and supportive connections. The vineyard wedding became a distant memory, a painful chapter in my life story, but one that ultimately led to growth and a stronger sense of self. I learned the importance of trusting my instincts and the courage to stand up for myself, no matter the cost. While I never sought revenge, the natural consequences of Michael's actions served as a form of justice. He lost not only me, but also the future he had tried to build on a foundation of lies. As for Olivia and me, we never became close friends, but there was a mutual respect and understanding between us, a shared experience of having been deceived by the same man. Life moved on, I healed, I grew, and while the memory of his proposal to another woman, while still with me, would always be a part of my past, it no longer defined my present or dictated my future. Showing up to that wedding was a bold and perhaps unconventional choice, but it was the act that allowed me to close a painful chapter and step into a future where I valued honesty, integrity, and a love that was built on truth, not deceit. After listening to today's story, perhaps it has raised some new questions in your mind. Every day on Reddit, new experiences and moments create fresh stories. We are all human. If you enjoyed this story, feel free to share it. Thank you for your time, and don't forget to keep an eye out for more stories coming soon.